Hello, everyone, and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I have another top 10 list for you. It's top 10 board games with no or limited downtime. You see, in a lot of board games, you're going to take your turn, and you're going to be waiting a few minutes between turns where you're not going to really do much except plan your moves and watch others take their turns. But in today's list, these are all games where you're either having simultaneous actions, and so there's no downtime except for if you're a little bit faster, you're taking your actions than someone else, or there's different things that you can do that are going to be involved on other players' turns. Maybe there's a follow mechanic or just other things that are going on. And so let's go ahead and get into our list. But before we get into the top 10, I want to go over a few honorable mentions, ones that just missed the list, and one category of games I kind of left off because the whole category could, in theory, dominate this list. And so as far as the games that just barely missed the list, we have Space Base and we have 5-Minute Dungeons. 5-Minute Dungeons is a game where you're always constantly looking at these cards that you have in your hand and trying to play down symbols, and everybody's working together to get rid of these cards that come up that are requiring different symbols to defeat, and a boss fight that's going to come up you're going to be working against, and so you're constantly involved in the game. It's a real-time game. You have 5 minutes to defeat the dungeon with maybe a few pausing time along the way, so you are constantly involved in that game. There's no stopping and taking a breather at all. And then Space Base is a game where the active player is going to be rolling dice, and everybody's going to be able to activate different things based on those dice. And so the active player is going to activate certain parts of their board, and then those who are not the active player are going to activate the other part of their board. And so there's always something you're going to be involved in on that because you're going to be using those dice that on each turn. And so those are the honorable mentions. And then the last thing is a category that I've kind of left off, and that is roll and write / flip and write games. Many of those games take place simultaneously where you're all doing actions together in some way, shape, or form. And really, there's a lot of great games in that list, and leaving them to a separate list, these are going to be other types of games that meet this criteria. So let's go ahead now, without further ado, and get into the top 10 board games with limited or no downtime. And the first one I'm going to list, number 10, is Tiny Epic Galaxies. And this game, you are going to be rolling dice, trying to use the symbols that are on there to accomplish various things, to get resources and eventually get victory points in different ways. And the reason that this has limited downtime is that you have something that's called a follow action, where somebody rolls a dice and you want to utilize the symbol they have. You can spend a culture in order to follow that action. So you're constantly going to be watching on other people's turns to see when you might want to follow an action. And so you've got a little bit less of a kind of a downtime because of that. So that's Tiny Epic Galaxies. And number 9 on my list is Planted. Now, Planted is a game where you are going to get cards in your hand, and you are going to select one of those and pass on to the other players. And so you're going to be all doing this simultaneously. You're going to be picking a card out of your hand, putting it down the table, passing the rest, and then all revealing together what you picked. And then you're just going to keep doing that throughout the round. And then you're going to go into the next round. You're just going to keep building up your plant areas and different things like that, getting resources, being able to get these plants played and growing and all that kind of stuff. And it's all done right together. My number 8 game is another Phil Walker Harding game, and that is Sushi Go Party. And this game is very similar to Planted in that you are doing that card drafting mechanic where you have a hand of cards, you're picking one, passing the rest on. You're all doing that simultaneously to be able to select cards that are going to score you points in various ways. And so there's no downtime because you're doing that all together. So Phil Walker Harding's Sushi Go Party. Now on to my number 7 game on this list, and that is Dice Forge. This is one that just landed on this list because I played it recently and decided it belonged on this list. I've only played it a couple times, so I'm not sure exactly if it's in the place that it most needs to be, but in this game you are going to be doing something on every turn because you're going to have your dice that you are adjusting by changing out the dice faces, and on every turn you're going to be rolling your 2 dice and getting resources from those dice. And so you're active on every turn doing something, And sometimes the active player will also go where you placed your pawn, and so they're going to move you off that place, and that's going to give you the opportunity to roll your dice again and get even more resources on that turn. There's a few other things that may happen throughout the game that are going to cause you to do things on other people's turns, and so you are constantly active throughout this game, and the game turns go pretty snappy as well for the most part, and so there's very little downtime in this game where you're not focused on doing something. And so I definitely enjoy this game, Dice Forge, and it's my number 7 currently on this list. Now on to my number 6 game on this list, and that is My City. This is a polyomino placement game, and it's simultaneous action. You're going to flip a card over, and it's going to show you the polyomino that you're going to place somewhere on your board, and you're both going to take your polyomino piece that looks like that, and you're going to place it somewhere on your board that is adjacent to something else that you've already placed. And because all the action is taking place simultaneously, you are having very little downtime in this game as well. I really enjoy this game. I love a lot of polyomino games, and this one is very snappy because of the fact that you're doing everything together. And so My City has both a legacy aspect to it, as well as you can play one-off games on the opposite side of the board. And so I really enjoy My City. We've played through the campaign twice. We've enjoyed it so much. It's my number 6 on this list. Now on to number 5. My number 5 game is Earth. Earth is a fairly new game here, and it also has a follow mechanic where with one person will choose an action to do, and then everybody else is going to do a lesser version of that action on their turn. And so there's very limited amount of downtime because you're all acting together on the turns using that follow mechanic. There may be a little bit extra time taken by the active player during the planting stage because they have a little bit more to focus on from that one than the other players do, but it's not going to be a whole lot usually. And so there's very little downtime because of that follow mechanic where everybody's doing something on everyone else's turn. So that is Earth, my number 5. Next game on my list, number 4, is Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition. And this is a game where, again, it has that somewhat of a follow mechanic there where it's a different one than the other ones I've mentioned so far, in that you are all selecting an action in secret from 5 different cards, and then you're going to reveal them at the same time, and everyone is going to take all the actions that were revealed. And if you reveal the action, then you're going to get a bonus for that. And you're just basically going to go through. If actions 1, 3, and 5 are selected, then everybody's going to do action 1 together. And once that's done, you're going to move on to action 3. And then everybody's going to do that together. And then you move on to action 5. Everyone does that. And then you rinse and repeat. You all choose your actions again. And so on each one, you're going to be actively involved unless you choose not to act in that round, either because you can't afford to, or you want to save resources, or whatever the reason is that you wouldn't be acting in that particular phase. And so you're all doing things together based on those action selections. And so it's got a lot of simultaneous actions in it as you are following up with one another's action selection there. Moving on to number 3. And here I have the mega box for this game. We really enjoy this game in our family. It's Quacks of Quedlinburg. And this game, you are filling up your bag full of different pieces that all represent different ingredients that you're going to be putting into a pot. And so you are going to be taking one chip out of your bag at a time and placing in that pot, and everybody's doing this all together and working in their own pot. And so you're all simultaneously deciding to take out pieces until you think that maybe you've taken out enough. You don't want to explode your pot, because if you get too many of the cherry bomb pieces, that you're going to explode your pot, and that's not good. And so you're going to be all just pulling out at the same time until you decide to stop. You're going to have a little bit of downtime if you stop earlier than everybody else because you wait for them to finish up, but not a whole lot. And the game plays really fast. It feels like it just flies by because you're always doing something. You're always active together. And so that's Quacks of Quedlinburg. It's a push your luck game that is a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. It is my number 3 on this list. Now my number 2 on this list is 7 Wonders. And 7 Wonders you are all doing, again, a card drafting where you have 7 cards that you're going to start out with each round. You're going to select one of those to play in front. You're going to pass them on to the next player. When everybody's passed on their cards, chosen and passed on, you're going to reveal what you've selected, and then you're going to keep going. And in this game, you're trying to get resources that you're going to be able to continue to use throughout the game once you have those resources, in order to buy some of the more expensive cards that are going to get you victory points. And so, and to fulfill your wonders as well, you're going to need those resources that get you victory points and other cool effects. And so you're going to be building up your 3 wonders that you have to build up. You're going to be building up your civilization with different blue cards. You're going to be building up your science with these different green cards that are going to give you points. And you're just trying to get points in so many different ways, and you're all acting together, selecting, passing on. And so the game just goes really fast. It's about a 30-minute game, and you're always active in that game because you're always choosing the cards simultaneously. And in 3 rounds, you've played it, and you count up the points and see who got the most points. 7 Wonders is my number 2 on this list. Okay, I've made room now for my number 1 game on this list, and that is Planet Unknown. This is a polyomino placement game where you are going to simultaneously take a polyomino piece, one of 2 options that are in front of you on this Lazy Susan, and you are going to place it somewhere on your planet, and you are trying to fill up your planet as you're going to score points for rows and columns that are filled at the end of the game. And you are going to be picking those polyomino pieces, not just for how they're going to fill up your planet, but they also have pictures on them that are going to represent different tracks. You're going to have 2 different tracks you're going to be able to go up on based on those polyomino pieces that you're going to place down. And so some of them are going to give you points. Some of them are going to focus on giving you these little green pieces that you can put down to fill up 1 by 1 squares. Some of them are going to give you tech that's going to give you special abilities throughout the game. Some of them are going to allow you to move your rover, which is going to allow you to pick up these life pods that give you points, as well as picking up meteorites that are going to be in the way of you scoring points at the end of the game, because they will cause you not to score a row or a column if it's in that row or that column. And so you need to get those picked up. They also give you bonus points for if you collect a certain amount of them. And so you're going to be able to get bonus points that way as well. You're going to have cards that are going to score you bonus points. And the great thing about this game is it all takes place simultaneously. You're all choosing a polyomino piece on your turn and putting it down. And so there's very limited downtime in this game because of the fact of the simultaneous action there. I really love this game. I love polyomino games in general. I love the puzzle that comes along with them. And this is my number 1 no downtime or limited downtime game. So this has been my top 10 limited or no downtime games. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about these games, as well as let me know what are some of your favorite games that have so much player interaction in between or simultaneous action that you are involved constantly throughout the game that have this very limited downtime. I'd love to hear what some of your favorite games are. I'd also like to encourage you to check out my video on how to play the solo mode of Tiny Epic Galaxies with a playthrough. You can check that out right here, as well as I have a video about the follow mechanic and games that do that mechanic well. I encourage you to check that out if you haven't already done so. As always, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hit that like button if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more videos. And I'll catch you in the next one.